At the moment, I'm really positive that we're going to get Max pretty close to leading a normal life. It's still, I don't know when he's going to walk, but we're still really hopeful because he's always showing improvements as long as we keep the work up and don't give up. Whereas before, working with other therapists and Max not showing any signs of getting anywhere, there didn't seem to be much hope at all. But yeah, I'm positive now. I think Max is showing improvements all the time. They're slow and they're tiny, but he's getting there. My expectations when we saw Peter was we went round to see him to hope that Max would be able to stand, because the last physio we were seeing, I had Max standing, balancing on against the couch for half an hour at a time, a few times a day, when he still couldn't hold his head up. And when we saw Peter, I thought once Max was up on his feet and if he could walk, that a lot of the problems would be over. But there were lots of other things during all this work that we've been doing with Max that needs work as well, like the way he uses his hands, whereas physios before would say he needs to grab for this or he needs to grab for that. And Bert and I would spend hours over the cot with toys, jiggling them around, trying to get Max to reach up and grab. And that's all they told us to do. But with Peter, we had to stretch Max's arm, massage his shoulders, loosen up everything, and which would open up his hands. Instead of just expecting this little baby to reach out and grab normally, we had to go back. Even though he was 14 months old, we had to go back like he was a newborn, back to the way they do things, and work with Max that way.
I'll go on the example of standing. I know that's skipping a fair bit of it, but when we get up to the standing stage, Pete and I constantly going through the movements of actually standing. This is what your feet are supposed to do. This is the position you're supposed to be in. See how your back does this. See what your knees are doing here. Your hips are supposed to be. So all of these things, you know, I can visualise as I'm working with Max, and you know, if his feet's not quite right, you know, I'll place his foot in the right position, or I'll hang on, his foot's starting to pronate a little bit, or his knee's coming in right. Let's sitting back down again. Let's do it properly and do these exercises properly in the way they're supposed to be done. And having that, you know, imprinted in your head from constantly, you know, Peter saying, no, it's got to be like this. You've got to be in this position. You've got to be forward. You know, your back's got to be arched. Your weight's got to be over your knees. All of these really important things in the actual standing, you know, in the steps of standing. Instead of initially when we were standing him when he wasn't ready, his knees were buckled. As I said, his feet were pronating in. His head was flopped on one side, and he needed the couch to support himself. So definitely, it's, you know, it definitely works that I can visualise the concepts that Pete's got, and then put them into my own, you know, into my own fun type activities and exercises for him. This enables me to incorporate Pete's exercises into my into my play with him. I can sit him down in tailor pose and sit behind him and get him to manoeuvre things with his hands and be in a lot more better position with a better base, so that he can reach and grasp objects and, you know, put round pegs into square holes, so to speak, and all that sort of thing. He can actually do that a lot better now because he's reached those milestones in those positions a lot better, a lot more stable. Definitely. Are you kidding me? I would have liked to, from day dot, if I had any insight into Pete's techniques, I would have, you know, the massage would have been done as soon as we got him home. We would have started that immediately. I just think that's a key. The massage is, from what I believe and what I understand, is stimulating the nerves and all of the muscles working from the outside in. So the more that you massage and stimulate, the more signals you send to the brain, and then the brain sends the signals back to the muscles. That's as far as the way I understand it. Yeah, if I had had any insight into any of this, I would have been doing it from day dot. The day that we got him home, I would have started it 100%. I think every child could benefit from developmental massage the way that Pete teaches it, because I think number one is the bond between the parent and the child. If you're sitting there and you're not only massaging them, but you're loving them as well. So you're giving them that love that they need. There's something that's read that you can actually kiss a baby's brain better. By doing massage, by stimulating them, by just pouring your energy into them in a positive way. I mean, every child, every mother, every father should do it.
The thing is, there's no magic pill, unfortunately. Unfortunately, there's no magic pill. Only movement can restore movement. And so if you want the child to make a particular movement, first of all, you have to break that down into 3 things. With every movement that we make is energy, flexibility, and strength. So if that child has those 3, if the limb is flexible enough to make the movement and the child is strong enough to make the movement, then you make it with them. You encourage them to do it in all kinds of playful ways. But first of all, you've got to establish that the child is capable of making that movement. There's no point with a kid with stiff arms in waving a toy in front of him, because if he can't reach